Landman here. I study how people build financial ground and how it washes away when they're not looking. There is a version of financial failure that nobody talks about because it doesn't look like failure. It looks like progress. It looks like a nicer apartment in a better neighborhood. It looks like a car that starts without hesitation. It looks like dinners that don't require checking the menu prices before you order. It looks, from the outside, like someone who has figured it out. And that is exactly what makes it dangerous. Lifestyle inflation is the slow, quiet erosion of financial soil. Not a flood. Not a collapse. Erosion. The kind that happens millimeter by millimeter, season by season, until one day you look at the ground beneath you and realize the topsoil is gone. What's left is hard, compacted, and nothing grows in it. Here is the part that most financial content gets wrong. Lifestyle inflation is not caused by weakness. It is not caused by laziness or poor character. It is caused by a completely rational response to a rising income signal. When your income goes up, your brain reads that signal as permission. Permission to finally have the things that felt just out of reach. Permission to match your environment to your earning level. Permission to stop delaying. And in a vacuum, that logic holds. The problem is that the permission is granted permanently, while the income that triggered it is never guaranteed to stay. Let's make this concrete. Imagine two people. Both earn $50,000 a year at 25. Both receive raises every 2 to 3 years that bring them to $90,000 by their mid-30s. The difference is one variable. Person A upgrades their lifestyle every time their income rises. A better apartment here. A lease on a newer vehicle there. Higher-end groceries, a gym upgrade, a weekend travel habit that feels modest, but costs $4,000 to $6,000 annually. Person B applies a simple rule. Every raise, 50% of the after-tax increment goes to investment before any lifestyle adjustment is considered. Not all of it. Half. By 40, assuming a conservative 7% annual return, person B has accumulated somewhere between $200,000 and $250,000 more in investable assets than person A despite earning the exact same income across the same time period. Same salary. Same raises. Same career. Different soil. The gap is not discipline in the heroic sense. It is simply the decision about where the increment goes before the brain normalizes it. Now here is the controversial part, and I want you to sit with this before you react. Most financial advice tells you to budget, to track your spending, to find the latte and eliminate it. That framing puts the problem on consumption behavior, which is the wrong level of analysis. The real problem is structural. Consumer markets, housing markets, and the social environments most high earners inhabit are specifically calibrated to absorb income growth. The moment your income rises, your rent options expand. Your peer group's visible spending expands. The products marketed to you shift upward in price point. Budgeting against that system without addressing the structural pull is like bailing water from a boat with a hole in it. You can bail. You will be tired. The water will keep coming. This is why lifestyle inflation isn't a discipline problem. It's an architecture problem. And you fix architecture with structure, not willpower. The ground wealth psychology framework treats every income increment as soil. Fresh topsoil. Rich, loose, full of potential. The question is never whether to use it. The question is what you plant in it before the wind takes it. Because here is what the wind is. It is the automatic recalibration of your standard of living to match your earning level. It happens without a decision. It happens through 100 small frictionless upgrades, each one reasonable, each one quietly permanent. The permanence is the key insight. When you upgrade your apartment, you rarely downgrade. When you start ordering the better bottle, the previous one tastes like a step backward. When you join the gym with the sauna and the classes, the old one feels like deprivation. These aren't moral failures. They're hedonic anchors. Each upgrade resets the baseline, and the baseline is defended with the same emotional intensity as a genuine necessity. Your nervous system cannot distinguish between a need and a normalized want. Both feel urgent. Both feel non-negotiable. Let's run soil math. If your lifestyle inflation rate runs at 75% of every income increment, meaning for every dollar of new after-tax income, 75 cents flows into upgraded spending. Your investable increment on a $20,000 gross raise is roughly $300 per month. At 7% over 20 years, that $300 compounds to somewhere around $180,000. Now run the same math if you hold lifestyle inflation to 25% of every increment. The investable amount becomes $900 per month. Same return rate. Same 20 years. That compounds to over $560,000. The difference between a 75% lifestyle absorption rate and a 25% rate on a single raise held over 20 years is roughly $380,000. That is not a rounding error. That is the soil that either exists beneath you at retirement or doesn't. The question worth asking, and this is the one most financial content avoids because the answer is uncomfortable, is whether the lifestyle upgrades that absorbed that $380,000 made your life meaningfully better in a sustained way. Not in the first 3 months. Not in the novelty window. Sustained? Psychologically, the research says no. Hedonic adaptation flattened the benefit within a year for most of those purchases. The cost remained. The joy did not. That is the erosion pattern, not a dramatic loss. A slow, quiet, completely normalized disappearance of financial soil that never gets a chance to hold a root. Landman's approach to lifestyle inflation is what he calls the soil test. Before any spending upgrade is made, the question isn't, can I afford this? The question is, what acre does this come from? If the answer is from new ground from an income increment that hasn't yet been allocated, then the soil test applies. What percentage of this new acre am I planting? And what percentage am I letting the wind take? If less than 50% of the new acre goes to planting, to investment, to debt reduction, to genuine asset building, the upgrade gets deferred until the planting happens first. Not canceled. Deferred. Plant first. Then consider the upgrade with whatever remains. Some months, nothing remains. And that is the honest math most people are not told when they accept the next raise with relief and immediately begin to plan the upgrade. The land doesn't care about your income. It only measures what was planted and what was left to erode. Every season of lifestyle inflation without a corresponding planting season is a season where the topsoil thins. You may not feel it for years. Most people don't. They feel it at 50, when the income is still there and somehow the ground beneath them is thinner than they expected. When the retirement projection doesn't match the earning history. When the raise that felt like progress turns out to have been mostly spent on a life that felt slightly more comfortable, but not substantially more free. Income without soil is just a faster treadmill. The speed increases. The ground doesn't change. If this reframed how you think about the next raise, not as permission to upgrade, but as an acre of new ground to be planted before the wind arrives, subscribe. That's all. Just subscribe. New ground here every week.